Come back to the football Fundits. It was a good game week. I didn't hold my nerve, unfortunately, before the deadline, and ended up making the switch from Kane to Haaland, which obviously did not work out in my favor. But still, overall, a good game week, right? 85 points on the board, decent rank jump, but something won't really look at too much right now. Ranks will keep fluctuating. A lot of managers this week are coming in with two transfers. So, like the thumbnail suggested, we'll try to help you best maximize those two free transfers. We'll show you a wildcard draft as well. Again, if you've been having a very poor start, if you're having an okay start, maybe hold off on that wildcard. But either way, the wildcard draft will be there for you to have a look. We'll also be discussing captain tips this week. A little tricky for some managers. I still feel Salah, even though with Liverpool's form, remains favourite because of last season's fixtures against United. That being said, obviously KDB, Haaland are good picks as well, right? All the Newcastle away seems to be that low block issue. So we'll discuss this and a lot more in this episode. Before we go ahead, I want to just I want you to hit on that subscribe button if you like the content that you've been seeing. And we're coming up with more videos in the coming weeks. We'll be moving to 2 videos a week as soon as I get the templates ready. Before we move ahead, again, want to make sure that you follow us on Instagram, on Twitter. Also join our mini league. The code is right there. Also, the auto join link will be in the description below, so you can hit on that. And again, make sure you hit on that subscribe button. This is what the team looks like going into game week 3. Sanchez in goal, James, Cancelo, Trent, Dunk. I think 4 of those quite content with right there in my defense and my keeper. A little worried about the double up. West Ham, I always had the potential of getting in that goal, right? But I look okay for now. Pereira there is my weak link in the team. I feel Martinelli, Salah, Luis Diaz, Haaland and Jesus. Neto has not really worked out. Trippier, if you don't have him, quick transfer tip, do not get him in because they play City and Liverpool in the next 2 out of the next 3. So you can hold him. So I'm quite content though because Trippier got me 7 points in game week 1 and 7 points in game week 2. So he did his job over going for Robertson. I used that money to go in for Diaz. So far that worked out. But this is the problem right now looking at the fixtures, how they were going to turn for Newcastle, right? So in terms of transfers, by making that Kane switch to Haaland last week, I kind of boxed myself in because like I said, having 2 transfers this week, or if you have 2 transfers this week, you have the flexibility of probably now keeping Kane because Haaland didn't look too convincing against Bournemouth, so the fear factor has gone down a little bit. You could have potentially then looked at maybe getting in Luis Diaz into your team, especially with Darwin not being there, Jota not being there. You could have kind of kept an option for getting in, swapping out Saka, for example, in your team for Kulusevski, who's jumped up to 8.2 though, so unless you don't have money in the bank for that. Potentially, you could also, I could have also, assuming I kept those 2 free transfers, done a double change. I could have taken out Trippier, been said thank you so much for those amazing 2 clean sheets over there. Move Trippier probably up to Perisic at 5.4. I know I'd be 0.1 short there. But also consider the meanwhile moving out Neto and downgrading him to another midfielder, swapping things around over there, especially in this game week, right? So I could have made those 2 moves. And if you are considering the same and if you have 2 free transfers, you have 2 goods you could look at, right? 2 good moves you could look at. Luis Diaz getting in looks decent. Yes, United is a tough fixture technically, but not as per the way United are playing and definitely not as per the way the fixture went on last season. Now, apart from these, right, what would you look at doing in terms of a big team swap or a big team transfer? So I'm going to show you live transfers, and along with those live transfers, I'm going to show you what transfers you could potentially make, and I'll probably go position wise to make it a little easier. So let's move on to defense first. Like I said, right off the bat, if you have Trippier, you have 2 free transfers, a Trippier to a Cucurella seems to be a very, very popular pick this week. If you looked at the press conference that Tuchel said as well, that Chilwell and Cucurella, I think he spoke about formation, right? He said if it's 4 in the back, then yes, there's competition. If it's 5, not so much. Assuming Chilwell is fully fit, Chilwell will be the wing back and Cucurella to slot in the back 3. So makes you a little more sure if you've already gone for Cucurella that looking at the fact Chilwell still not fit against Leeds, they could be starting after Leeds as well. Leicester, slightly tough fixture maybe. Looking at the fact that Chelsea struggled a little bit in attack. Southampton, West Ham, Fulham, Liverpool, Palace, Wolves, Everton, Aston Villa, Brentford. Good run of fixtures there, right? So definitely if Chilwell doesn't seem to pick up the pace, doesn't has injury setbacks, you get Cucurella right now, could be a good move to consider. Even if you have the single transfer, don't have much to look at, you don't want to save it, you want to have an attacking move. Cucurella in for Trippier, looking at 2 out of 3 tough fixtures, wouldn't be a bad move. Yes, City could probably struggle. You could potentially also move on to a struggling Liverpool, and the Newcastle could be doing well there. But it's not a very bad move looking at just the fixtures and the player itself and the fact that he's on set pieces. Let's say you're looking outside of this players. Who else could you look at? If you have money in the bank, if you left 0.5 in the bank, definitely Perisic at 5.4 seems to be a good pick over there. Let's just look at Perisic's fixtures. So Spurs have moved on to a good fixture run right now. And looking at comments that Conte's made, I think he's okay to start Perisic now. So with Wolves, Nottingham Forest, West Ham, Fulham, City obviously in 7, but then Leicester. And looking at the fact that if you don't use your early wildcard, you're looking at wildcarding in 8 or 9. Even after that, right? United being a tough game there. I think Perisic, if he sets in over here right now, would be a good time to kind of consider keeping him. Especially if you have him, I don't think right now is a good time to take him out, right? So I think Cucurella and Perisic are the picks for me in that 5.5 bracket. Outside of these, I already have Lewis Dunk, but it's a good thing to consider Brighton defense. Lewis Dunk, like I said, is at 4.5. You obviously again have Veltman. Lamptey's not really started the first 2 games. Brighton's fixtures are West Ham this week, Leeds after Fulham, Leicester, Bournemouth, Palace. Good round of fixtures to Liverpool and Tottenham. Then Brentford, and Nottingham again. At 4.5, I could consider keeping him around. And these moves, especially keeping in mind that you probably are downgrading Robertson because you're done with him. Personally, I would hold on to Robertson 1 more week if I had him, just because of the United. Yes, that could go either way. A lot of talks about protest at Old Trafford. Will the game get cancelled? You're stuck with a triple up over there. Even just for that, you want to take out that one asset. Fair. But if that's not what you're making that move for, if you're just making that move for, maybe he's not looked too good. Liverpool have not looked too good overall, right? Yeah, Trent has probably been standout. Game week 1, he was a little poor, but game week 2, he looked quite good. I would just say maybe possibly hold on to him. If not, then these are the moves to consider either way for swapping out Robertson for me. If you're having a major shuffle, definitely downgrade one of them down to Nico Williams. If you already have an 8.4 midfielder in Luis Diaz. So now let's move on to midfield, right? And let Nico Williams be an enabler of sort. You have Luis Diaz is option number 1. You have Kulusevski in case you don't have Kane or Son. You have Kulusevski, whose price, like I mentioned, has gone up to 8.2. His price has gone up to 8.2. And fixtures right now, like I said, for Spurs are Wolves, Nottingham, West Ham, Fulham. Really good run of fixtures coming up for me. Kulusevski is looking good. Son is being brought off earlier than him. And we saw this at the end of last season as well, right? Although Son was scoring those goals, if the changes had to be done, Conte was taking off Son first. Now you don't want to let go of Haaland. You don't want to squeeze in Kane. You don't want to break your head right now. Don't want a wild card. I think Kulusevski is a good option over there as an 8.2 mid. Looking quite threatening over there. Outside of him, what if you have Saka? The whole debate here is downgrading Saka to Martinelli now with, like Arteta said, the whole midfield is free. Right now, the whole midfield is free. What do you do? Martinelli seems to be the one who probably might give away, right? Zinchenko keeps playing till he messes up. Even though Toney is probably fit, Zinchenko's in too good a form maybe to bench him. Martinelli, you could argue the same way. But in terms of if a game's not really working out too well, I do see a Smith Rowe coming on possibly for Martinelli. I do see formations being changed over there. I still see Saka probably staying on the pitch for a few more minutes, but that's just watching the first few games, right? So, not really concrete there. Like, this is where you say the fact that you don't wildcard early, the fact that you don't make impatient moves, take -4 so soon is because of that. He's played full 90 minutes, right? But that's when Smith Rowe wasn't available. There were injuries right there. Martinelli, that is. So there are a few things to worry about over there, but I think by and large, still not the worst move to make downgrading that, because then it gives you, assuming you have Saka, so Martinelli is I think at 0.2 now. or he's probably moved to 0.3 if I'm not mistaken. He's moved to 0.3. You still got 1.7 in the bank there. Making that move, either using that to get in a better 5.4 Perisic, looking to upgrade a fellow midfielder up. You can get in gross 5.6. Now that's a debate, right? What about gross? There's a whole argument on obviously FPL Twitter that he's only ever scored maximum 3 goals a season. He's already at 2 so far. He's not crossed more than 6 assists. So by and large, you're a little worried about that, right? He's already on 2 goals. But maybe you can look at it this way, right? Playing West Ham, Leeds, Fulham, Leicester, Bournemouth, and Crystal Palace. Really good run of fixtures, and maybe we started so well, and the confidence is there from those fixtures, especially against United, and being buoyed from that. Maybe it's good considering, and it could be a way out of Neto, right? Neto's look poor. Not like Wolves have the most terrible run of fixtures. They have Newcastle, Bournemouth, and Southampton in between, right? So Tottenham being in one off. But it's not looked the best. And if you really want to make those moves, and again, like I said, I'm putting the emphasis on using those 2 free transfers. You have money in the bank for 0.5 on Bailey, or you have a little bit more money in the bank downgrading your defense. I think Cross is both to look at over there. What about De Silva? Obviously, United looked really terrible, and probably you could say that goal was a little bit lucky. But at 4.6, another starting player, and again, we'll just possibly look at Brentford's fixtures, which are really, really, really good fixtures, right? De Silva, like you said, in the first minute, limited numbers. Obviously, got a goal there in the first game, limited numbers there. Played 61 minutes in the second game. Will he be regularly starting? Possibly, possibly not. He's already at 4.6 though. Fulham, Everton, Crystal Palace, Leeds. Look at that fixture run, right? All the way down till game week 11, game week 12 to Chelsea. Really, really tempting. And again, making that move gives you flexibility to probably upgrade your striker. Come to the striker in just a little bit, right? Apart from these, I think Kulusevski, Diaz, Kroos, De Silva to make money or make that move there. I'm not really sold on Mount. So if you have a Mason Mount, for example, you keep a Mason Mount. But if you don't have him, I don't know if now is the week is when you go in for these players, right? Give it a little while. Let's see how it works out. You have players who are in form already. You can make that pick, right? So Diaz, Kulusevski, Kroos, maybe what taking ahead 2 game weeks. Neto's not looking too well. You want to make that move? Why not, right? And if you completely want to outlook all of these players and move on to, I won't do a watch list of sorted because I've not spoken about Leicester, and I'll tell you why once I'm done talking about the strikers. Because Castagna, Madison are good picks over there. I'll tell you why. I think just looking at the way Leicester's a little uncertain, the transfer market, transfer activity, little volatility over there, that's keeping me a little bit off it. Well, quickly finish up the strikers and I'll come back to that. You can potentially make these moves, get in Gross, for example, and I'm probably butchering that name, but I apologize for that. I think Mbuemo is someone who I looked at in the start of the season, right? I think at 6.0 with these fixtures, he got a goal again. Probably a little lucky against United, you could say, but on the counter. But with Toney, I think he looks really, really good, right? And I'll show you Toney in my wildcard draft and I'll tell you why I put him there, not here. Looking at how you rotate your squad, how you make your players. Obviously, you can downgrade, like I said, Robertson probably down to Nico Williams, to down to Dunk, down to 5.0, Cucurella. I have 2 million in the bank, upgraded Archer up to a 6.5. You could, assuming you have 0.5 still left over there, might fall 0.1 short of Toney, right? So that's why Mbuemo, I feel, is not a bad punt if I have to look at strikers right now. Outside of this, there are talks about, obviously, again, just because of the fixtures that I spoke about, right? Going back to Brighton, there's talks about Welbeck. 6.5, again, you could probably afford him. I'm a little, again, wary about him. He has looked good, though, in the games he's played. He's played the full 90 in both games. The fixtures are there. These are just potential moves you could consider going to me, but I don't know. I'm not 100% sold on Welbeck. I could obviously completely eat it this week. But for me, in terms of strikers, I think I would, again, possibly leave it at just that, right? You could then, like I said, if you have the money in the bank or if you're going to wildcard, right? So I'll now move on to the wildcard draft. And while moving on to the wildcard draft, I'll come back to my Leicester point over here. If this is what you were wildcarding, this is potentially what a draft of yours would look like. Now talking about Leicester. Leicester, again, do not have the worst possible fixtures, right? So pull up Madison at 8.2, and why I didn't talk much about him. Southampton, Chelsea, United. United obviously not much of a concern right now, which is a United fan again. It hurts while talking about it. Brighton, Villa, Tottenham, Nottingham, Bournemouth. Look, not the worst fixture I know over there. Not playing City or Liverpool per se, or again Liverpool right now. Not a bad mix. I just feel with the volatility there, Madison is probably more of a wait and watch another week. You can probably be okay without it. If you're really struggling and want to punt though, I feel like Castani instead at 4.5 would be a better hit if you must consider Leicester. But again, like I showed you Brentford, I showed you Brighton. These players probably have more potential with the fixtures in slightly good form or somewhat of an eye test to go off the first 2 game weeks, right? So yeah, I think Castani and over there. For him, that's where I would say. I probably say Harvey Barnes coming back fit possibly helps and addresses Leicester's real concern right now to the start of the season. So you could potentially wait 1 more game week and then consider making those moves in the next week. Coming to just the wild card, right? As you can see, I've taken just in this case, my team look fairly decent. So I've obviously taken out Neto for Rodrigo. I've taken out I've done Diaz to Kulusevski. Done Nico Williams. Triple down to Nico Williams over there. This is what I feel. If you were wildcarding, looking at form and fixture, these are the players you should consider. Obviously, now Rodrigo is playing Chelsea. So like I said, that could again, like I said, could be a Brighton midfielder right over there, right? But after that, they do play Brighton, Everton, Brentford, Nottingham Forest there. So he does have form. So that's using pretty much what I think my best option there. But he said my second best option over there. Like I said, Brighton for me would be number 1. Getting in across at 5.6, for example, over there gives me an additional 0.5 in the bank. I can use the 1 million there, get Cucurella instead of Nico Williams. Don't have to go that cheap, right? I can take Dunk up 0.5 to Cucurella and don't have to go in for Dunk over there. Rather keep just Sanchez in goal in case of that. The only reason I've done Raya and Dunk over there is because I don't want to double up on Brighton. So you could potentially switch it around, get a Brentford defender and a Brighton key and getting Sanchez in goal. All viable options. Now this is just a kind of a look, right? Now potentially you could also do this. Looking at the fact that Toney is in form and I've been talking about Toney, then like I said, I'll show you this when I'm showing you potential wildcard draft. So let's say you want to go in for a very potent attacking front 3. Now that does kind of limit you in terms of, like I said, your midfield again, especially if you're going in for a Dunk at 4.5. So let me just adjust this around completely to make it easier. Just fix this, sorry. Be as clear as I can. So yeah, now if I do that around and I get in a good potentially attacking front 3, and that could be Kane for you, right on the head. I'm left with 6.6 in the back. Not the worst, but again, at 6.6 right now, is the value there? What are we looking again? See, Rodrigo is the one who comes up in discussion. Martinelli, if you don't have him, then definitely, but like he's already there in this team, right? You again are looking at the likes of De Silva, Janssen, Dewsbury, Hall. Zaha will be priced out of at 7. Well, Buenda has looked well attacking. Look decent, but again, not the best fixture run coming up. They don't look that good as well. So again, potentially avoid. So it's a little tough for me, at least for me, to convince you to make that move, right? All the way go down there. Maybe do look at Everton assets. Again, no, I'm not most convinced over there, right? Again, you leave Neto. You leave Neto in there. You leave Andreas Gross. And it gets getting Gross over there. Does that weaken you a bit? Do you look at Dunk, James, play 4 in the back, play 4 in midfield or 3 in midfield? Then you have Salah, Martinelli, and one of the 3 cheaper midfielders in Gross or Neto. So that's obviously that midfield still looks a little weak, right? Even if you have Bailey right now, Leon Bailey, you're looking at the same potential issue. So that's the reason why I didn't go in with a team that is similarly and tweeted just a little bit for the first deadline. But these are really good options right now if you must consider in-form players. Outside of this, is there an option in which you make an adjustment to your defense and keep in, let's say you keep in Kulusevski, for example, or Luis Diaz, right? No, nothing fixed over there. you will very well possibly have to downgrade a defender. Right at 5.1, if you want to cover Cancelo, you can do Walker there. You can get Perisic over there. But not having Cancelo, not having a City midfielder, City defender could set you back. So this again is possible. This is how we show you how you can tweak and make the most of the fixtures right now. And you can have Kulusevski in there, a cover for Son and Kane, hopefully a cover for Son and Kane. You could potentially also switch this around completely, right? You could go in for three cheap attackers there, remove Haaland, get in De Bruyne here, get in Son over here, not have Kulusevski. So all those options are there. But like I said, I maybe think it's too soon to give up on just your Kane and Haaland and completely switch to that midfield if you already haven't done it yet. It could work out to be a potential great punt, but just feel maybe too soon over yet. And quickly, I'll move on to the captaincy tips, right? And I'll end the episode after that. Again, like I said, Salah seems to be the best pick, even though it's United, even though they not look too good, Liverpool. Just looking at the way they played against United last season and looking at Trent and Salah versus this United defense, which is struggling really poorly, and how they were caught out so easily against Brentford and Brighton. You do worry for United. So as a United fan, I do worry. So as a FPL player, you probably should target that, which is why I think Salah, just no-brainer there, should be possibly a number one pick. Haaland, obviously, and De Bruyne right there are picks over perks too because of form, right? Newcastle seems to be a tougher opponent to crack this year around. So I feel that if I don't have, I'll just move on from this wildcard team to make it look easier to the team I have. And I'm just gonna reset that. This is what my team looks like, right? So like I said, I don't have a Spurs assets here. If I did probably have Kane and Salah. I might have been more tempted to go in for Salah, right? For Kane or potentially Son. Between Haaland and Salah, as of now, it's about 60-40 towards Salah, right? I just feel maybe against Newcastle might struggle a little bit more. Obviously, it could be wrong. So, Salah, Kane or Son, if you have both, can't really pick. Possibly Son, although he's potentially more likely to go off if they are already 3-0 up and he's not done much. So, remember that risk in mind. And then possibly consider Haaland or De Bruyne. Obviously, differential captain. I see a lot of people actually already going for Jesus because he's banged in those goals and assists. Bournemouth look tough, right? For even City as well. They did get 4 goals against them, but I don't know if it'll be as easy for Arsenal as well. I completely understand if you want to take that hit. It's not the worst possible move, but I do feel that just looking at a complete outside of it, that Salah is just a slightly better move over there. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning into this episode, and make sure you do subscribe to this channel, follow us on Twitter, Instagram. Auto join link for the mini league is in the link below, or the code is right there. We'll be coming up with more episodes soon. Best of luck for this game week. Hit us up on Twitter, hit us up on Instagram if you have any further doubts. We'll try my best to address the same. Again, best of luck so much. Thank you for tuning in.